Welcome to compiling software applications on your Alces Flight compute cluster. Before we get started, you'll need to have an Alces Flight compute cluster launched on AWS and have SSH access to that environment. We've already looked in previous videos at using Alces Gridware to get your applications installed on your Alces Flight compute cluster. Alces Gridware can also be used to build and optimize applications on the fly for specific environments. Gridware does this by using downloadable source code for the applications and building packages directly from source on the target platform. This allows optimization of the particular applications, along with the ability to use different compiler and variant options for the different applications you want to use. Each installation is included with an environment module file to make it easier for users to find and use the application once it's installed on the cluster. This flexibility allows Alces Gridware to support many different package versions, many different compilers, and different variants of these packages, all on the same HPC cluster environment. By providing a repeatable installation method for applications, Gridware can support ephemeral clusters that come and go as users need them. Updates are automatically published to Alces Gridware, ensuring that users have access to the latest applications when they need them. Alces Gridware also helps to enforce conventions on the way application software is installed and used on an HPC cluster. For example, dependency management is provided automatically by the system, and feedback is provided when loading and unloading modules. Users are provided with information about their software packages, including the license under which the open source application is provided. The packages available in Alces Gridware are continually updated, allowing users to get the latest and best versions of software that they need without removing older existing versions that provide continuity and stability for their environment. For ephemeral clusters and cloud environments, Alces Gridware also supports installing from binary packages. These pre-optimized environments allow users to install and build applications as quickly as possible and get started running actual jobs on their HPC cluster immediately. Let's take a look at some of the more advanced functionality when using Gridware on an Alces Flight compute cluster. Before we get started, we need to disable auto-scaling on our compute cluster if it's enabled. Auto-scaling clusters must do advanced dependency analysis to ensure that all compute nodes have the latest version of software dependencies for each application they install. Auto-scaling support is enabled automatically for applications held in the main repository. Here we're going to be compiling applications from the volatile repository, so we need to disable auto-scaling. Use the command alces configure auto-scaling to view the status of auto-scaling. Use disable to turn auto-scaling off. With auto-scaling disabled, we can use the qhost command to show that we have 4 compute nodes ready for use. By default, Alces Gridware ships with the main repository enabled. Using the command Alces Gridware list shows us all the applications that are available in the main repository. All packages in main have binary versions available, so when we run an application install, the application installs from a binary package by default. To enable the volatile repository, you need to edit the opt gridware etc gridware.yml file. Instructions for doing this are in the documentation on our website. Remove the comment in front of the volatile line and save the file. Use the command alces gridware update to update the Gridware repository. An Alces Gridware list command will then show you all applications from both the main repository and the volatile repository. To install an application from the volatile repository, use the Alces Gridware install command. Type in the name of the application you want to install. Here we'll install an application called Picard version 185. Gridware will automatically check the application that you've requested to see if a binary is available. If not, Gridware will download the source code for the application you've requested and compile it up on your cluster. Compilation may happen in a few seconds or may take a bit longer depending on the instance type that you've chosen. As with all packages, Gridware will automatically create a module file for the application you've requested. Module avail here is listing the new application that we've just installed. Alces Gridware can also take parameters for an application installation to choose how you want your application compiling. For example, the GrowMax application has a number of methods you can use to install and compile it. To view these, use the info command, Alces Gridware info on GrowMax. The output will show you the different variants that are available and the different compilers options that are available for your application. For example, if I want to install GrowMax with the floating point variants using the GCC compiler, I can use the following command. Alces Gridware install volatile apps GrowMax 465, choose the variant for float and choose the compiler GCC. Alces Gridware will prompt permission to install prerequisites to do the compilation. Prerequisites by default will come from binary versions or will be compiled on the fly if prerequisites exist only in source code form. Once the compilation is finished, you can use the module file created to access your application. Use module load apps GrowMax, then use growmpp command to use your application. For applications that take a long time to compile, you can use the Alces Gridware export command to export a compiled application so you can use it again in future. To allow hard-coded paths to be included in your export, use the --ignore bad parameter, then type in the name of the application that you want to export. Gridware will export the application that you've built and save it in a tar file. You can use the Alces storage command to upload your tar file and put it onto one of your object storage backends. Alces Gridware can be used to install a wide range of software applications on your compute cluster and optimize these packages specifically for your environment. Users can also install their software applications manually using both command line and graphical installers with their Alces Flight environment. That concludes this video. Please watch the other videos in the series for more information about using your cluster and running applications through the job scheduler. To find documentation online, just go to our website, alces-flight.com. Click on the documentation link. That will give you all the printed documentation for using the system.